Thank you, PEMEA and REX Academy, for this opportunity to share my insights on EBP or evidence-based practice. Good morning to all of you. Magandang umaga. Assalamualaikum. So, um, so I'm happy to have a conversation with you on finding how data can help implementing evidence-based practice in school settings. There will be two speakers for this part of the plenary. I'll be talking about EBPs in school setting, and my colleague Miss Tony Alino will be talking on EBP in the classroom. So, real improvement in schools requires collecting and processing quality data. So, any assessment and research initiative in schools done to provide a set of data and information, an evidence or indicator that provides information about students, teachers, schools in general, and even school administrator. So when we speak of EBPs or evidence-based practices in school, we refer to the objective, balanced, and responsible use of current research. I guess this has been emphasized by the earlier speaker, Dr. Marilyn Balagtas, and the best available data to guide policy and practice decision such that outcomes of student learnings are improved. Without quality assessment and goal-oriented use of research on effective teaching and learning, school administrators are left behind when making critical decision in an effort. In an effort to achieve the goal of improving teaching and learning, which will eventually improve learning outcomes. Lacking good data on teaching effectiveness and learning outcomes, for example, school leaders are at a loss when assessing the return of instructional and learning development initiatives. Today, this is our conversation piece. Of course, with the assumption that you have or you are gathering data, you are organizing them, and you have completed or you are completing research using your data. Okay, sorry. School is a data-rich environment. So education decision makers have access to a wealth of information from students, teachers, administrators, staff, and even parents and community. These data include basically students' test results, academic performance, teachers' teaching behavior or teacher evaluation, as we commonly know it or call it, instructional challenges, and our school organization, and even operational statistics, even sports, information on sports program, on guidance and counseling program, and other operational statistics. However, these data have limited use and could possibly be detrimental if we, decision makers, either at the school level, at the classroom level, or at the grade level, do not understand the advantages and restrictions of data, the types of data relevant to decisions, that you are confronted with, and how the data can be appropriately used for your decision making. Schools are always searching for strategies and approaches to help raise student achievements and total development and wellness. And that's the reason why we're here today. School administrators, such as principals and even head teachers, rely on teachers and counselors to collect data use, and use a wide range of data to inform decision at all levels of the school system or education in general, from individual students to classroom to school-wide, even district, regional, and national. Okay, so what does research say? Okay, I think this was also emphasized by Dr. Marilyn earlier. Okay, but let me just reiterate it, that Datno, Park, and Wolstetter in 2007 established the relationship between levels of data use and increase in student achievement and total performance. Okay, this is a big statement, something that schools should not ignore, okay, or and negate. So what I hope to you to gain from this presentation is the ability to understand EBP, or evidence-based practice process, applied in school setting, the ability to identify the types of data to be collected, the ability to discover what reports, basically research, okay, are more useful to teachers and administrators, the ability to determine the barriers and challenges in implementing evidence-based practice in schools, and the ability to ascertain approaches on how to sustain evidence-based practices in school. So let's begin to understand and appreciate the concept of evidence-based, or EBP. Okay. Earlier, Dr. Marilyn has given this definition, that evidence-based is the process of collecting, processing, and implementing research findings to improve instruction and learning outcomes. This is according to Prisman et al. In 2014. In short, EBP is the idea that professional practice, such as teaching and learning, ought to be based on scientific evidence. This is the reason why the EBP have been gaining grounds since in education. And we all know that EBP did not start in the education sector or education field. It started in medicine in 1992, and then it spread to the other allied health profession, okay, even in management, law, policy, architecture, and of course, in our field, education. According to Leach, 2006, the movement towards evidence-based practices attempts to encourage, and in some instances, to force professional like teachers, school administrators, and other decision makers to pay attention to evidence in the form of research to inform decision making. The goal of evidence-based practice is to ensure reliability or up-to-date practices in favor of outmoded and ineffective ones, by shifting the basis for decision making from traditional intuition and systematic experience to firmly grounded scientific research. Among the benefits, and I guess Dr. Lin also mentioned this earlier, of implementing EBPs for educators and students are, okay, an increased livelihood of positive child and student learning outcomes, okay, increased accountability because there are data to back the selection of a practice or a program, okay, which in turn facilitates support for administrators, teachers, parents, students, and others. Less wasted time and fewer wasted resources, because educators start off with an effective practice or program and are not forced to find one that works through trial and error. Okay. An increased livelihood for being responsive to learners' need, and of course, a greater likelihood of convincing students to try it because there is evidence that it works. You will notice later on that students have to have a buy-in. You know, they have to adhere, they have to like EBPs, whether you like it or not. Okay, if students do not like it, do not have a buy-in on your EBPs, then it is considered, okay, not really a complete failure, but it is one of the challenges of implementing EBP. Okay. However, in spite of proven effectiveness of EBP in schools, according to Cook et al. In 2012, some educators are concerned with the implementation of a new practice or program will require extensive time and resources. And that's true, okay? Although this is true in some situations, it is not always the case, okay? Even if these instances, when it's true, educators might consider it worthwhile to devote the necessary time, effort, and resources when they take into account the benefits that you get from that EVPs or evidence-based practices can offer. Okay, you have seen this slide from the first speaker, okay, but I am sharing it with you again. Okay, putting in place an evidence-based practice in the classroom is already a very overwhelming task. Okay, but more if it is implemented school-wide. Okay, not only you are examining the research behind the practice, but you are thinking about the data collection and evaluating them, whether the practice is positively impacting your students or impacting your school. The figure here shows 10 steps for implementing evidence-based proposed by Torres, Wardley, and Cook in 2012. I will not go through this again, okay, because Dr. Marlene has given you a bird's eye view of this. And my colleague, Miss Tony, will share more experiences on how to do this, okay, at the classroom level. So instead, I will put these 10 steps simpler by proposing a 3-stage framework to implement EBPs in school. Okay, so the 10 steps proposed by Torres et al. Gives the impression that it is too cumbersome. So from 10 steps, I adopted the 3-stage framework of the Education Development Center 2013 called 3 Bold Steps Framework for EBP and superimpose it into the Torres et al. Steps. So to make it simpler. So steps 1 to 3, the green one, I'm using the traffic lights here, okay, not for any other reasons. But steps 1 to 3 put together stage 1, and I call it selection states. Okay, right. So that's the first stage. Step 4 and 5 were combined as a stage 2, and this is the preparation stage of EBP. And stage 3, okay, were lumped together as a step 6 to 10, I mean, were lumped together as a stage 3, and this is the implementation stage. So it is important that before you begin to explore a specific area of the EBP implementation framework, okay, briefly go over all the actions and steps in each stage to make sure you have sufficiently tackled and tapped all the bases that will help you to implement the EBP successfully. In each action step, let's attempt to discuss the concrete and practical strategies and tools to successfully implement EBPs in schools. Okay, so let's start with the first stage. The first stage in implementing EBP in the three bold steps, framework. Okay, superimposing, which is superimposed on the 10 steps of Torres, that the first stage of in implementing EBP in school is to select. Okay, you may be looking for an evidence-based program or practice, or you may find that a program or practice you're already using does not address the current needs, especially now that you will be following high flex learning or keep on doing online learning or completely going back to face-to-face classes. So at this point, you will need to select a new EBP. So I share you the concrete actions, okay, learned from the best practices identified from several EBP's implementation. Under step one, okay, you need to conduct needs analysis, which is actually, determining the environmental characteristics. Okay, for this activity, you can use existing data or collect new data to identify and prioritize the areas of need related to teaching, learning, and school management. A needs assessment can define the scope, characteristics, and consequences of problems and will help you answer questions like, what are the problems that you need to address? Okay, because you are not implementing EBP unless you can feel or you have a slight feeling that there is a problem that needs to be addressed. Okay. Also, what components in your curriculum, for example, require strengthening? Okay. And what are the areas of not being effectively addressed? And how safe, because you in EBPs, you are not only looking into the cognitive, okay, but you are looking into the total development of your students. So you are also looking into the school environment, okay, whether this is something that students and your teachers will have to accept very easily. Okay, your needs assessment should take into consideration also the procurial, sociocultural, and even the linguistic context of your school. Okay, particularly at the basic education level, wherein, okay, you need to use the mother tongue in teaching some of the subjects. So because this will help you select the best possible practice or program for your target beneficiaries, okay, or your school, either by grade level or by subject area. Hence, you need to determine, okay, the students as well as teachers' demographic characteristics. This is actually in the step one as well. Then the result of your needs assessment, okay, will be identified and shared, okay, and and this could form as the roadmap for implementing your EBP, okay, for implementing EBP in your school. Second, you need to identify the gaps. Okay. You need to identify the gaps. Okay. Okay. Then use your needs analysis to identify the programming gaps, okay, in priority areas for different types or year level to determine if specific student groups are not being served by your practice or by your EBP. Then also look comprehensively at other services and intervention that are already exist or being implemented within the school. Okay, so DepEd, for example, has this resource mapping when you enroll, when they start enrolling students. Okay, you can pattern this resource mapping developed by DepEd to help you define the continuing programs. Okay, and because resource mapping is a strategy for identifying and analyzing the programs, the people, the services, and other resources that are currently exist in your school. So the information you get from your resource mapping can help you, okay, teachers as well as school administrator, better assess the needs of the school and make informed decision about where to focus change efforts. Okay, look at existing programs that are not producing changes. Probably you have implemented a lot of programs. That's why the beauty, okay, the beauty of EPP is that you don't have, okay, as long as you develop it well, you don't have to go through trial and error. Okay, look at the programs that are not producing changes in your school that they are intended to impact. Poor results, okay, of course, may be due to poor program fit, okay, even the implementation or program fidelity. You know, when we speak of fidelity here, is that any like fidelity is how close or how loyal are our activity to our objectives. That's what we mean. Like, you know, our activity still, you know, within the scope of our objectives. Okay, if the cost of poor program fit, a different program may be better serve student needs. If the cost is poor implementation, implementers, okay, might consider, okay, or you may be required to do additional training and support. Okay, one, by the way, one of the key successful ingredient of EBP is CPD, or continuous professional development. If the cause is poor fidelity or not adhering or not aligned with objectives, you might want again to review, okay, who developed the program to help you better understand the elements of a particular program that are critical in ensuring positive outcomes. Next is find evidence, okay, based programs and practices. Okay, there are a number of methods that you might use to identify effective programs and practices of your intended group, either again by school, by year level, or by subject like. Okay, so you can search. You know, well, this is a good thing about Mr. Google. Okay, you can just type in evidence-based intervention, and wow, okay, you have 1001, okay, list of evidence-based intervention. Okay, you can try, you can look, you know, at every evidence-based intervention and see whether your data, your school needs, and your student needs, okay, actually fit into that particular evidence-based intervention shared, okay, through Google. Also, you can ask other schools, okay, who have similar demographics and needs, okay, what programs and practices they are implementing with success, okay. And at ADB, for example, we always advocate the network of schools because, you know, like bigger schools, okay, serve as the resource centers of smaller schools, okay. And we encourage them to do collaboration and ask them to even allow teachers to observe and visit the schools while they are implementing an innovative program. Okay, if you are consider a program or practice that has not been used and tested with your specific group of students, it is necessary that you read literature search. You know, you need literature to find out if there is evidence or use similar, okay, to your group students. What I am saying is, okay, you may not have done any research for your school, and so you have to, you know, you have to go back to your the literature, okay, and find out, okay, what are the EBPs, okay, that have been implemented and has been proven and tested to be effective. Okay, if it is it if that EVP has been implemented similar to your school setting, then you can always adapt it. Okay, to do this, it is important that you convene a selection committee. Okay, so after you have identified the EVP that may be applicable in your school, okay, you have to select an EVP to implement. Okay, and how do you do this? Okay, as a teacher, or as a principal, you cannot do it individually. It's always a collaborative effort. Okay, so convene a selection committee. Okay, convene a review committee or a working committee, whatever you call it. Okay, whatever committee you call it. Like, once you have narrowed down your search, okay, to a few programs and practices choices, it is important to include representatives from various stakeholders of your schools, like teachers, parents, principals, and even school staff. Because in EVPs, by the way, okay, this is not the only business of teachers or school principals. Okay, other school staffs, okay, his staff have to be involved as well. Okay, it is also important to get input from, especially if you are uh, you have partner institutions like REX, for example, who's supporting your EVPs, or PEMEA, who's supporting you as well in some other way, as they can help determine a fit with school and institutional capacity, compatibility with your own programs and services, and of course, okay, it is important that a funding is committed. Okay, you cannot do EVPs without any funding. Okay, it has to be well resourced in terms of human resources as well as financial resources. Okay, now for stage 2, this is about preparation. Okay, so one is you convene a working committee. Okay, proper preparation is the key to successful implementation of your EVPs, okay, in your school, because it is critical for you to learn as much as you can how much the practice or program is working in other schools, in other departments, or within your school. It is necessary that you engage stakeholders to ensure a receptive environment and collegial interaction and collaboration. So I have to underline that, okay? Receptive environment, collegial interaction, and collaboration. So this is not the only business of one teacher. Like, EVP is not the only business of one teacher. It is at the classroom level, but if it is at the school level, it has to be a collaboration among all stakeholders of your school, including parents. Okay, and it is very important that you have to find the best people to implement it. Okay, it could be teachers or administrator to deliver the EVP. There must be a director, or there must be a lead, okay, for any EVP program. Okay, and provide whoever part of the implementation of EVP, provide them with adequate training and support to ensure effective implementation. So here, it is necessary for you to convene a working group. Okay, a working group will often provide training, okay, the materials, the technical assistance, the guidelines on how to implement the EVP that you have identified with fidelity, while adapting to meet the school's cultural, okay, as I have said, sociocultural, as well as linguistic needs, as well as the needs of your students. Okay. Second, okay, be smart and visit nearby school. Okay. Right now, it is important to share. Okay. To share what other schools are doing, okay, your schools are doing, and because knowledge sharing is very important now. So contact any principal or any teacher nearby schools that may be using EBP with similar to your school, okay, or within your district or within your region, etc. Okay, network. It's just so easy, and because even if uh, especially for teachers who are very active in social media, okay, whether we like it or not, ipapangalandakan nila yung yung na may EBP sila, okay, and you should contact them and then ask them if you can do a benchmarking and do a visit. That's how you learn, okay. And also the third one is involve school partners and school holders, okay. Tap the resources of REX and PEMEA, for example, okay, because your partners and stakeholders, okay, uh, should help you, okay, or can provide support and direction at this stage, okay. Uh, of course, it is important that you promote school buy-in, okay, ownership, okay, and you provide staff capacity to implement the program. You also provide opportunities for training and planning and create a system for information sharing around the EBP. Okay? Madali na lang yung information sharing, like isang WhatsApp group lang or isang FB group or isang Viber group. Okay, teachers can already share information, okay, what they're doing at the classroom level, at the school level, or even at the district level, hoping that you develop also a communication and advocacy for EBP. Okay, Dr. Marlin also emphasized that, as that number 10. Okay, but in terms of preparation, you already have to consider this. Next, you have to select the practice implemented, okay, or the program implementers, okay. Choosing the right program implementers or practice implementers is the key to effective EBP implementation, okay. So when you are selecting, okay, what could be your potential questions here is that, or your questions that you consider, okay. So one is, do the potential implementers or teachers or have the appropriate skill set and background to deliver EBP? That's very important. Okay. How many implementers are needed to successfully deliver an EBP? Okay. Which partners, okay, in your school initiative would be most appropriate to implement? Okay. And then, do the implementers have the cultural and linguistic competence, as well as a program management or practice management competence related to the target group? And can the implementers, okay, commitment is very important here, to full participation in professional development, such as training to prepare them for implementation. And lastly, are the school leaders, okay, including school community. Like, I have to emphasize this, okay, particularly if I know most of you are in private schools, but those who are in public schools, okay, it is very important that you involve the barangay officials, okay, the PTAs, okay, and you have to build up the enthusiasm, okay, for your EVP, so that they can, and bring them on board, okay, give them responsibility for the implementation of your EVP, okay. And also, new EVPs or programs require staff to develop new skills. Of course, hindi lahat ng teachers are ready, okay, to implement any EVP, okay, program. Okay, so before implementing an EVP, the staff involved or the teachers involved need a workshop or training to introduce them to the practice or to the program. Okay. Also, the training or workshop should allow them to, you know, to develop sense of ownership. Kasi kung implementer lang yung teacher or school administrator, okay, and there's no sense of ownership, parang it's just one of the many activities that you're doing in your school. And also have the opportunity to practice teaching a lesson or using a program. So ito yung modeling, okay? You have to model on how to do EBPs in your school. And you need to choose, okay, the means of providing professional development, okay? And how it will be best carried out in your school, okay? For example, okay? So you plan so for example, if you have a large staff, it may be more cost effective to bring, okay, the implementer or the lead implementer to your school or district and provide the professional development. Okay, if you it's a few staff, then the capacity development could be done, okay, in group training or in group, or if there are only 3 or 5, okay, if there are only less than 5 staff who are involved in the EBP, then it might be good for the EBP leader to just simply offer one-on-one capacity building. Okay, and so and of course, okay, after you have developed, okay, you have selected the EBP, you have planned for professional development. The next is you have to pilot your program. You just, ito na yon. Okay, hey, okay. Because by piloting the program or the practice on a small scale and demonstrating the success with your school leaders or community, you can build support and a sense of ownership for the program, and then spread the word to other, to other schools, okay, and school staff. And what are the key considerations when for a successful pilot? Okay, one is for you to select a pilot group that is representative of the school or grade level. Second, choose a skilled implementer, okay, practice lead as we call it, to provide them with adequate professional development and ongoing support during the implementation. And lastly, which is very important, you need to set up, okay, a monitoring system and closely monitor the implementation to ensure implementers' fidelity or loyalty to the objective, to the core elements of the program. Okay, I think this is the last. This is very important, is for you to develop a monitoring system. Okay, in order for any EBP in your school to be effective, okay, they need to be implemented with fidelity. What do you mean by fidelity? Again, yung activities mo ba aligned with your objectives? Are your activities loyal? Okay, that's what we mean, loyal to the objectives of your EVP. Okay, and this requires a mechanism for monitoring the implementation. Okay, because you want to determine if the core elements of the practice or program are being implemented as designed, and also to identify support that the implementer or teachers may need, okay, during the implementation. So you need to consider this, okay. And I guess this is the last one for preparation, is to build the program ownership. And this is very important, okay. And there are often challenges to getting teacher and administrators ownership, okay. It's difficult to convince all teachers, okay, to be part of any EVP because they consider it as additional tasks, additional work, okay, and without any incentive of doing this. However, okay, it's really challenging because teachers, as we know, teachers already have very full plates. You know, they have so many things on their plate, and they are under pressure to have students, okay, perform well, particularly during these times. And for administrators, okay, they may want to add additional burdens to student workload. Okay, I mean teachers' workload, because uh, you know, and so implementing an EBP is really challenging for a school principal, because one, it will teachers will, if teachers will not own it, okay, they may not cooperate or collaborate because they only think that EBP is an additional work for them. Okay, so especially if your school has implemented programs or initiatives or interventions that were perceived not to have impacted any, okay, it went without much impact, it was completed without much impact, okay, to students, okay, you will need to make it clear, okay, uh, that the connection between the EBP and students' academic success and the potential benefits of implementing a new program. Okay, so dapat, claro, okay, your goal has to be very clear with your students, with your teachers or whoever implementing the EBP, that you have a common goal, okay, and they have to adhere to that goal. Okay, so how do you do this? Okay, one strategy is involve teachers, okay, to choose the EVP, to identify the EVP, to suggest EVP that are easy to implement, especially if you're implementing it for the first time. And then later on, okay, have it integrated into your existing curricula, okay, and relate it to other other indicators like school standards, for example, or curriculum standards, or even DepEd standards. Okay. Yes. Okay. Now the last stage. Okay. For the stage, okay, which is this is from 6 to 10. Okay, of the 10 stage model of Torres, okay, and et al. It is about monitoring and implementation. Okay, so you have selected, you have prepared. Now you need to implement and monitor it. When you implement your EBPs, you should be ready to anticipate or identify problems and challenges, and you should respond to them before they affect your desired outcomes and results. So for stage 3, you should be ready to take note and compile the best practices you gathered during the implementation, because this will be helpful for you to continue implementing your EVP and when you will develop a new EVP in your school. Okay, so what are the activities under stage 3? Okay, monitor implementation. Okay, which is actually part of the preparation, because when you prepare, okay, before you implement, you should have already put into place some monitoring mechanisms. Okay, and this is very important because you should develop and use monitoring mechanisms, okay, in stage 2 before you actually implement it. So this will help you readily identify and address needs and challenges as they occur. Okay, uh, I'll just share with you. Okay, wait, sorry. Okay. I don't know if you can read this. Oh, sorry, nabaliktad pala yung isa. Okay. Uh, this is an example of implementation and sustainability checklist. Okay, you can adapt this. Okay, it's available online. Okay, it is by the Promote Prevent org. Okay, by the Education Development Center. Okay, probably anyway. I will. The link is there, and I will be sharing you this because this will be very helpful. Okay, because it will allow the implementers to stick to the core elements of EBP and ensure that your program are implemented with fidelity. We align. Implemented. Okay, noting your program objectives. Okay. Second, okay, you provide continuous and ongoing professional development. And this is one of the identified reasons why a lot of EVPs are not successful, because they thought that the moment they launch an EVP, okay, teachers can already, alam na nilang gagawin na. They know what to do. Okay, but that's not the case, because okay, it is important for any EVP to have professional development. Okay, and profession in EVP, for any EVP, professional development is not a one-time event. Okay, to implement an EVP in your schools, you should need to have an effective ongoing CPD, or continuous professional development and support. Okay, so what are the potential forms, or what would be the possible forms of a professional development? So it could be in the form of coaching and mentoring, okay, by a junior or by a senior implementer. It could be through your master teachers or lead teachers or department head. Okay, and you can have a booster session. Okay, booster session, hindi yung COVID booster. But you conduct regular and periodic sessions to reinforce good practices and find solutions to challenges. You always have to work with your working group. And then you can also have demonstration lessons, particularly if for particular, like by subject or by grade level, by skilled teachers or the master teacher. And it is important that you regularly share the challenges and success of implementing an EVP. Okay, building out the time for professional development into your school schedule will show or demonstrate the importance of the program to the teachers, and that the administration, okay, is always behind that EVP. Next is maximize support system. Okay, anyone leading an EVP and working with him or her must always be ready to provide support and assistance, okay, in the form of guidance, monitoring, and process evaluation. The key implementer of an EVP will often provide technical advice, technical assistance, and guidelines on how to implement the EVP with fidelity while adapting it to meet a particular needs of your school. Next is the importance of data collection. Okay. Data collection and gathering of information about EVP should be an ongoing process. Okay. Not just because you have collected a data or a set of data and you have done your research, okay, tapos na yon. Okay. While you are implementing your EVP, you should all continue collecting and gathering information about the EVP. You have to learn from it. Okay. Hence, the data collection process, okay, should be able to inform, okay, both the process as well as the outcomes okay, of EBP, which are very crucial. So what data should you collect, or you should collect? Okay. One is, whether the EBP is still aligned, okay, lumilihis ba sa objective that you set, or is still within your objective, meaning it is implemented within the set goals and objectives. Second, you have to know, okay, that if the EBP is appropriate fit for your school. Okay. Third, you need to know also if there is adequate buy-in from teachers and staff and even parents and students. And if the program outcome data, okay, are meeting the objective needs identified, okay, and you also need to do this, whether the program outcomes are meeting your objectives that you have identified, okay, when you in the stage 1, which is in the selection and preparation, and stage 2 in the preparation. And you always have to provide regular communication about the positive outcomes to implementers, to school staff, because this is how you advocate EBP. Dapat, you should be proud that your EBP is achieving well or doing well, okay? And if the desired outcomes are not achieved, okay, you really have to make adjustments. And this is, okay, and that's why in my next slide, I have to emphasize the importance of evaluation in EBP, okay? And the fifth one, which is very important, is for you to develop sustainability plan including advocacy, which is actually is stage 10, okay, step 10 in Torres framework. Okay, you can promote sustainability by creating a supportive mechanism and system for highest priority for EBP. So how will you do it? Okay, build the capacity of the key implementers. Okay, continue to involve the school leadership to build buy-in for your program, and show the EVPs complement and coordinate with other existing programs of your school, and use social media to advocate your EVP. Okay, ang ano na yan, okay? Just make sure that you only use social media for correct and correct news. Okay, you will only you don't fake news. Okay, you don't report news or fake news about your EVPs. Okay, and you really have to work with the school leadership, okay, and partners to create, and later on, so that the EVPs will become an institution, it will be institutionalized, okay, and you will find ways to leverage with your partners, like Rex, for example, will be happy to know that the EVP that they have supported, okay, is working well. It's working well based on the results of your student assessment, for example. Okay, and then the next one is I would like to talk on the importance of evaluation in EVP. Okay, as you move your EVP selection to preparation and implementation stage, it is essential that you provide, okay, frequent, relevant data about the progress at its stage. Okay, so you have here, okay, stage 1, evaluating stage 1, which is the selection. During the stage, you need to address the priority areas. You have to reflect the culture of your school. That it will be implemented with fidelity, okay, given the requirements and constraints on teachers and administrators. It will be supported within your school budget, okay, and most importantly, it will be sustainable. Okay, evaluating stage 2, during stage, you should assess each EVP or your EVP in terms of your group success and achieving the following program objectives by engaging and training EVP implementers, situating the EBP within existing curriculum, collaborating with key partners, gamering, okay, buy-in with ownership, meaning to say finding a very good strategy, okay, for buy-in and ownership, and you should create a system for monitoring. And stage 3 implementation, throughout this stage, the evaluator, the EBP staff must provide the school director with process and outcome data about, okay, whether the EBP is being implemented with fidelity, okay, it is appropriate fit for the school community, and if there is adequate buy-in of EBPs, okay, from staff and partners, and if the challenges and needs identified by the implementers in stage 1 are addressed by the ongoing professional development, monitoring, and support. Okay, so for my last slide, I would like to provide some tips for implementing evidence-based teaching practices. Again, as we have been discussing since the first presentation of Dr. Lynn Balagtas, evidence-based teaching, also known as evidence-based education or evidence-based learning, okay, basta may evidence-based, may EB, okay, it is the principle, okay, and Dr. Lynn emphasized that it's a principle that, or our philosophy, that teachers should use research to make informed decision with regards to learning rather than being led on what has been used in the past, okay, and other implements. So for teachers, this approach could be applied to the huge number of decisions they make each day, from what should be taught on what day, how and when homework tasks should be set, even how they develop relationship and maintain discipline with their students. Okay. The first step is take it slow at the start. Okay. When implementing EBP teaching practices, it's important to take small steps, take baby steps, and not to overwhelm yourselves. Applying new techniques that is digestible, in digestible chunks, will benefit teachers and students alike. Also, by starting small, you'll be able to monitor the impact of the changes you have made more efficiently and effectively, okay, while also using this valuable insight to tweak and optimize these evolving practices. Second, ensure any strategy is fit for purpose. Okay, don't shoehorn an evidence based on teaching strategy if it's likely to fit with your existing framework and objectives. Look to roll out changes when you think it will have the most positive impact, when students are likely to most benefit from these changes. Third, set clear lesson goals. This is where basic learning. Okay, once you introduce evidence-based teaching practices, okay, it is vital to communicate what you want your students to learn during each session. Okay. According to John Hattie is a very close scholar to PEMEA, right? He has been, I think, one of the editors of PEMEA journal. Okay, and were we able to bring in John Hattie? I think we brought John Hattie, or no, we were able to bring John Hattie in one of our international conventions, but hopefully we'll be able to. John Hattie is one of the, known scholars and professors of educational measurement. According to him, okay, and in his Visible Learning book, 2009, this level of clarity will lead students in achieving better results. Clear, concise, and attainable lesson goals will help both teachers and students to focus and succeed. Okay. Fourth, ensure students get it. Okay, when implementing the new strategies in the classroom or in school, it is essential to ensure that your students are understanding the information they are taught. Okay, and there are several ways to monitor this. And in evidence-based teaching suggests that a random sampling. Okay, this involves asking questions, posing, and other randomly choosing, like the way Dr. Marilyn started her talk today. Okay, and then the fifth is dollops with feedback, meaning to say give bits and bits of feedback. Okay, hindi yung isang bagsakan lang. Okay, so you should be able to go, this bits and feedback, and this is also suggested by John Hattie in his article Measuring Effects in Schooling. Okay, so he stated that any teacher who seriously wants to boost their students' results must prioritize providing them with bits and bits or dollops and dollops of feedback. Feedback is very important. Okay, and that's the reason why I always emphasize that, if you give a test, okay, and if you don't give any feedback to your students, okay, don't just give any test at all, because if you don't give any feedback on how the students perform in any assessment that you have given, then walang silbi. Okay. Also, the sixth one is reject ineffectual method. Definitely. Okay. Engaging with research should not just be about introducing new effective approaches to teaching and learning, but also about identifying and rejecting existing, okay, not working, ineffective programs in school. So ineffective practices, for example, like, kung it's not working anywhere, then drop it and then introduce a new one. Okay. And then the seventh, okay, is be willing to learn and develop your own skill. Okay, this is very important. Okay. The director of Institute for Effective Education, Jonathan Haslam, explained that it is in one of his blog that the long haul, okay, evidence-based teaching, the long haul, that the interest in evidence-informed learning have never been higher, and then he had seen some events attract hundreds, if not thousands, of teachers even at the way. So it is very important that you should be willing to learn and develop your own skill. And lastly, okay, patience is a key. Okay, don't think that when you introduce any EVP, you will have an impact right away. So, okay, so this is very important. Like, you have to wait. Okay, EVP is a learning journey. It is not only for individual, but for the entire teaching profession. So with these tips, I end my presentation. I hope you had a wonderful time listening, and will remember this and take them with you as you embark on your journey of developing EVP in your school. So thank you. This is your basic takeaway, and thank you very much. Later on, if you have questions, you can follow me. You can email me. You can follow me on Twitter, on Instagram. Ian mentioned about my YouTube ChaSpeaks. Okay, you just try ChaSpeaks. Okay, and then you can have all the materials, instructional materials on assessment, evaluation, and even research. And of course, you can find me in Google site. Okay, again, maraming salamat.